Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which the Bentley campus is located. Thank you. The Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and on our Kalgoorlie campus, the Wangatha people of the Northeastern Goldfields. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and this region. Okay, attendees, members present. We have everyone. Oh, wait. We have everyone. Some others present. We have Molly sitting out there and Clayton sitting out there. Apologies, Nora's joining us online, but no apologies that I know of, actually. Yeah. Disclosure of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest. Anyone? Nope. Minutes of the previous meeting. Wait, I do have a separate paper. I declare that the minutes of the representation board held on the 19th of February 2026 have been approved and are a true, accurate record. Can I get a mover? Ebony, can I get a seconder? Oh,
Sorry, just a correction for those minutes,
oh,
if
yeah.
that's okay.
Yep. Okay.
Just under attendance, others present should just include my name as well, since I was here last time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure Nora got that moment. Yep. Morgan?
While we're on a similar topic, Bonnie is an apology for days.
Oh, that is so true. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you actually so much. I was told that. I don't know why I forgot.
Good job.
We just started. It's Ramadan. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll still go to mover Ebony, and then can I have a seconder for the minutes? Sobia. Oh wait, actually they're not a true record, so we're gonna come back to this. I'm assuming. Oh, with changes? Okay. We're just gonna move with Ebony. Seconder Sobia. Can I have all four? All against? Okay, that is moved. Public question time. We're gonna move to public question time. Do you have any questions from the public? Oh, okay, Sobia. You're crazy.
So during public question time, what type of questions are typically asked? Like, is it just anything? Or is it about the minutes or?
That's a really great question, and I appreciate that. I'll get Nor to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
I think it's actually just regarding anything, to be very honest. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Anything. But I appreciate that question, Sobia. Okay, we'll move on to reports. We'll start with the president's report. Dylan.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, new microphone. Happy to take mine as read and to answer any questions. I think in terms of campaigns and where we're up to at the moment, the housing campaign has been, we've got a plan in place for how we're approaching that over the coming months. And that will mean hopefully, well, at next Reps Board, we'll be presenting a report and some sort of advocacy points that we hope to get endorsed and move forward on. This will involve going out into different places around the university and into student housing and talking with students and engaging with students, noting that there's a lot of students who are new to Curtin housing and are now probably would be at the point where they're a bit more settled in and will have identified some of the problems that exist there. Other than that, we are progressing with and pertinent to this board is the project around the building of new equity spaces and also the delegation arriving. Building of the new equity spaces and new meeting rooms and office space for an expanding student assist team. That's progressing. There's been a few little issues on the sort of approval side with properties around the drawing. So I think we've just got to engage with a new contractor there to get the drawings in place before we can open up a process to get people in to start construction on that. which is a little bit unfortunate. That's been delayed slightly, but is being pushed through as fast as possible. And sometimes there are things outside of our control and that sit with Curtin, and all we can do is sort of push to get those sped along. But I'll leave it at that. Happy to take any questions.
I just would like to also say that Morgan left the chambers at 5:36 and rejoined at 5:37. But I'll move on to Ebony for any questions.
Thanks, Lydia. Can you give us an update on the NTEU industrial action and what that all mean for us moving forward, I guess?
Yeah, good point. The NTEU had a members meeting yesterday. I attended and spoke and expressed our solidarity with the staff of the university, in line with the sort of general points that were passed through Reps Board last year. But essentially it boils down to staff working conditions or student learning conditions, and that any improvements for staff conditions will be improvements that students will see through particularly issues around workloads. I won't, while we are sort of public and that regard, sort of talk through any comms around further action with the NTEU as to not sort of undermine their bargaining with the university. But what's publicly known is that the members of the union yesterday voted to endorse full-day strike actions with a maximum of 1 strike action per week. That doesn't mean that there will be a strike every week necessarily, but there could be. They also voted to have one of those strike days be at the university's open day, which is coming up at the end of this month, which should put some restrictions on what happens around there. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're up to on that point. So it is highly likely that we will see full day strike action happening soon. The Guild is in constant communication with the NTEU and will be informed as to when they take place and what we can do to support that action. I imagine it'll be something similar to the half-day work stoppage. We help provide the speaker and the microphone, and we cooked a barbecue and did those kinds of things. I know that in speaking with members of the NTEU committee and also general union members here on campus, the support of the Guild is greatly appreciated, and it isn't something that happens at other campuses, particularly here in WA, which I think is quite a shame. There's a lot of different bargaining happening around the country at the moment. It sort of runs in cycles where these things tend to happen at once. So I think we're going to see more actions and the sort happen at other universities, even in WA. I know UWA is happening soon as well. Ultimately, this will be disruptive to students and disruptive to the university as a whole. That's the whole point behind strike action. It's not like staff take these decisions lightly. They also will lose out on pay in these kinds of scenarios. So there's certainly risk involved with that. But that sort of gives you the position of where the bargaining with the university is up to at the moment, is that staff are willing to and unanimously endorse doing that. What we'll do is continue to put pressure on the university to come to a fair agreement with its staff so everyone can move beyond this. Staff don't want to be doing this. Staff are very conscious about not wanting to be disruptive to students. But ultimately, this is one of the bargaining cards they've got, and it's lawful and allowed, and it's something that we support. So we'll be working with them on how we promote this to students and prevent the university causing a wedge between students and staff on this issue.
Yep. Do you have any other questions for Dylan? Yep, Mia.
I was just wondering, with regards to the equity spaces, if we would be able to see what the plans are for that.
Not at the moment, but soon, because I think they need to be redrawn by someone else due to an issue with the original drawings. But it will essentially just be a corridor with rooms on either side in where Clubs HQ is, but we'll keep the kitchenette little spot in place. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to be architecturally designed. It will just be a set of walls put in basically, and then there will be an ability to make those spaces within that your own with each collective. But yeah, once we've got something in place and when we've got something, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's sort of where we're up to.
Does anyone have any other questions for Dylan's report? No, we'll move on to Vice President of Education. I'll take my report as read. Does anyone have any questions for me? Good. We'll move on to Vice President Sustainability and Welfare, Morgan.
I will also take my report as read. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Morgan? All good. We'll move on to Faculty of Business and Law, Rep. Connie. Wait, sorry. Wait. Ebony.
Can I get an apology? No, it's okay. Sorry. So I'll take my report mostly as read. I just wanted to say that I've continued meeting with different FBL clubs, and I'm starting to get a lot of really good feedback from them regarding. Sorry, is that okay? Does that sound fine? Okay, sorry. Regarding changes. Better? Yeah, okay. Regarding changes we can make to, I guess, different policies, especially around training and Tidy HQ and MyOb, because there's consistent issues that all the clubs are pointing out. But I'll be working with Tani to try and figure out how we can fix that. In terms of other meetings I've been having, I have now been included on the invite for the courses committee meetings, which is great. Unfortunately, there were a couple of meetings that I wasn't able to attend because they did not invite anyone from the guild. And yeah, that's pretty much all the other updates that I've got in terms of the housing campaign. I have now received a email back from a representative from the Red Cross. So hopefully the other reps who are involved in that campaign, we can continue working on that and moving forward. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Ebony? No? Okay, we'll move on to Faculty of Science and Engineering, Connie.
Hi, I will take my, oh, is that loud? Yeah, I'll take my report as read as well. Just note that I've been continually working with clubs to find problems with the faculty and also post on the social media. But yeah, I'll also take questions.
Thanks, Connie. Any questions for Connie? We'll move on to our Faculty of Health Sciences.
Thank you. I'll take my report as mostly read. Just a couple of things that I wanted to add on. After I submitted my report, I ended up meeting with 5 clubs, which is good. I've started making those good connections with them. Dylan and I have reached out to Health Services Union WA to see how we can push their campaign for paid placements. However, that is only, they only target allied health students, which obviously paid placements is something that more than just allied health students are doing. But we think this is going to be a good first step into helping secure paid placements for them and then continuing on with that movement. And the clubs that I've talked to have also expressed desire to see this happen, of course. For my O-Day stall, I have unfortunately not been able to collate my survey results, but a couple of things that I noticed were there was a large overall interest in social events and networking events, as well as events for international students and cultural events. And the most pressing issues that students found were that they were worried about were number 1, paid placements, and also number 2, cost of living, cost of tuition and other academic fees, and also cost of hidden fees such as first aid certifications or textbooks, which is something that clubs also brought up. In my next report, hopefully I'll be able to talk to a lot more clubs. I'll be able to collect those survey results and give a better kind of overview of what's going on with the faculty. But yeah, thank you. We'll take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Zobia? No, I'll move on to our Faculty of Humanities rep.
Yeah, I'll take mine as read. Though I'll just mention on the 31st, myself, the Vice President and President of the WA State Branch of the National Union of Students, have a meeting with the Education Minister and Tertiary Education Minister for the state of WA. regarding the placement crisis. Now there's word of a solution on the table. We'll see what that is, what they're proposing. But yeah, hopefully that goes well. It's been a long time coming. It's been a bit disappointing from the department that the placement / teaching crisis has been going on for, I'd say, about a decade now, and they've only just started to, focus on it. But yeah, I'll bring that to the next meeting, and yeah, I'll see how that goes. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Does anyone have any questions for Tom? Is still.
I just wanted to sort of highlight this is a campaign at this point, and I think it comes to the importance of, in regards to the teaching placements, it comes to the importance of good faculty reps doing the work and going out and meeting people, and that's starting at the grassroots and working its way up. So this obviously resulted in, there was a joint letter from all of the guild presidents here in WA and the NUS state branch that got sent to the Education Minister. That's now led to this meeting, and it's really put that back on the table. This is something that universities have for a long time been saying, oh, we're working with and trying to work with the department, and there's a time and a place for that, certainly, but there is a time and a place for raising these points forward. So I just want to commend Tom for a lot of the grassroots work at really identifying this as a problem, working with the faculty, and then being able to ramp that up, get everyone else on board and move forward. It's a good example of what we can do, not just as a Curtin Guild, but also more broadly as well. So hopefully something good comes out of it.
Thank you. I'll now move on to Student Assist. That's Andrew.
Thank you. I'll take my report as read, but happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Andrew? All good. We're going to move on to our International Students Committee President.
Thanks, Alia. Yeah, everything is going good. And I just wanted to thank Dylan, Ebony, and Max for attending the last Cafe Connect session. It was late and everyone loved that. And the Cafe Connect team also appreciated that. Also had some informal discussions with some of the university seniors regarding the ongoing visa change. And yeah, lots of them appreciated how the guild condemns the decision of increasing fees. So yeah, happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions for Tossin? No, we'll now move on to our Postgraduate Students Committee President.
Hi everyone, and I'm very sure you have read my report. Please ask me some questions.
Does anyone have any questions for JL? No, we'll move Q. Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to our Queer Officer.
I'm going to take my report as read. I'm also going to add that for the HIV self-testing vending machines now, properties have confirmed that they are going to install a socket somewhere, and now we're just waiting to hire someone to do that. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, JL.
Please, my question is a bit, it's a short one anyway, but because you talked about HIV, I was thinking, is there any possibility for us to put condoms everywhere? Like we do put the sanitaries for women, and I was thinking we could consider that as well. Just as a means of preventing HIV, if you are concerned.
So currently we have a total of 4 condom though dispenser packages. 2 of them are in the front of, like, 2 of them are the reception area of the guild. 2 of them are in the equity area of the guild. So those are the 4 one that we have right now. I don't think we have any other on campus at least.
Yeah, thanks for that. Can I continue asking? Okay. I was thinking we could put some in the bathrooms because some people may not be very comfortable to take from the open places. So I was thinking in the bathroom could be another option.
Yeah, I'll note that down. I just need to figure out the logistics of everything with Morgan probably to see how to do this.
Morgan, do you have a follow-up? Yeah. Thank you.
It's definitely something we can look into. There's definitely probably some logistical issues regarding putting, like, depending on how we put condoms in the bathrooms. It is important to note that the HIV self-test vending machine is not there because there are not enough condoms. It's because it's important to promote, as I'm sure you're aware, as a doctor and a health sciences student, to promote safe sex and constant checking of STIs and stuff. So it's in conjunction with the fact that we also have condoms.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? No, we'll move on to our women's officer.
I'm happy to take my report as mostly read, but just as a follow-up, we did have, sorry guys. I had a really successful event on Wednesday, which was the International Women's Day morning tea. And thank you to Mia and Astor and anyone who showed up. It went really well. Also just following up on something that Ebony brought up in our last reps board regarding the education on gender-based violence. I did get into contact with Student Assist, and Andrew has provided me with a contact of how to kind of get involved in that process a day ago. So I'll follow through with that and then update you guys next month.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Sada? No? Okay, we'll move on to our accessibility officer's report.
Hi, I take my report as mostly read. One thing I will note is that Ebony and I did not have the opportunity to go to the Murray Street campus this week, so that is something that I will be doing before my next reps report. But that's all. Any questions?
Thank you. No questions. We'll move on to our ethnocultural officer's report.
Scroll in the agenda. Okay. Yeah, I'll take my report mostly as read. There's a bit update on the Harmony Day event meeting that I've noted with concern. They have now cancelled this event with varying levels of frustration from several members across all sides. But this was, in my opinion, not a good event, not an event that promotes cohesion or celebrates culture and identity. So as a result of that, we are looking to run some events in place of this to show these people at the university how it's meant to be done, essentially.
Thank you, Max. Does anyone have any questions for Max? No? All good. First Nations officer, I'll take Bonnie as an apology. Any questions about our report? Nope. I'll just go to the motion that the representation board notes the report. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Tom, and a seconder. Thank you, Morgan. We're going to move on to chapter 9. Okay, items for discussion and resolution. Oh wait, we didn't vote. Sorry, that's my bad. Yeah, all in favor for approving it. Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Now we move on to item 9, items for discussion and resolution. We have item 9.1, endorsing the walk together against Islamophobia. The mover is me and the seconder is Sada. I will just give a couple of words before I open the floor to that. So as we have now, in the middle of Ramadan, many Muslims across Australia are preparing for a time of reflection, prayer, and community. Unfortunately, this month has been marked by a worrying rise in Islamophobic incidents. In the weeks leading up to Ramadan, 3 threatening letters were sent to Lakemba Mosque, one of the biggest mosques in Australia. Beyond this, reports emerged of intimidation and vandalism at mosques and Islamic centers across the country. Community leaders also raised safety concerns at mosques in suburbs like Cabramatta and Quakers Hill. Here in WA, the place we call home, a 20-year-old man from Bindoon was arrested and charged with preparing for a terrorist attack and had planned a mass casualty attack targeting mosques and other institutions. While the attack was prevented, it highlighted the very real dangers that the Islamophobic extremism can pose. According to the Australian National Imams Council, there's been a sharp increase in anti-Muslim hate incidents in recent months, with reports suggesting a rise with around 200%. Addressing Islamophobia requires more than condemnation. It requires solidarity, education, and a commitment to ensuring that all Australians can practice their faith freely and safely. Anyone else have any questions or anything about this motion? I'll go to JL and then I'll go to speaker. Yes, JL?
Yeah, please just give me a little highlight on what's the motivation for Islamophobia.
That would,
Yeah, because if we want to solve a problem, we have to know the genesis of the problem. Please talk.
Yeah, I feel like that is a very complicated question. I'm happy to share some resources with you. I feel like it goes back to a long time ago. We'd have to go back to 9/11, before 9/11. I think one of the most important things nowadays is just showing solidarity and showing people that there are like places to be comfortable, and like especially with like the walk. And I think another important thing is just showing people that like it's okay and like it's very normal like for there to be Muslims in places, and showing them that we're just regular people as well. I think a lot of people have a stigma and think of them like think of Muslims as like othered. So it's just about like educating people as well. But I'm happy to share with you any resources going back historically about any motivations. Anyone else on the floor have any questions? No, we'll move on to observers. Yep.
I didn't submit this motion, but I talked to the people who did, and Students for Palestine who've been kind of planning this demonstration, the walk against Islamophobia. And I think it's incredibly important because, as you said, yeah, like there's been a massive rise recently in Islamophobic attacks and Islamophobic sentiment across this country. You asked before where Islamophobia comes from. I think it comes from the fact that Australia, for hundreds of years, has been an incredibly racist country. It was built off racism, and Islamophobia in particular has been a pretty core part of Australian nationalism for at least the last 25 years. Australia obviously justified multiple imperialist invasions on Islamophobia and a massive attack on civil liberties for the last 25 years, in Islamophobia. Today, around the entire world, the far right is rising, and they're doing that off the back of Islamophobia and anti-migrant sentiment in particular. In Australia today, it's like One Nation, like one of the most popular parties. I'm sure people have seen the polls that kind of put them, in the top kind of one or two parties in the country, and their kind of main policies basically just is Islamophobic racism. So I think this is extremely concerning and something that us and progressive people and students across the country need to stand up and fight and say that we're not going to accept this, and we're going to do everything we can to fight against this horrific form of racism, which has justified the killing of millions of people around the world, and it has no place in anywhere in Australia. So that's why we kind of organised that protest. Students for Palestine did, and why I support it and why I support this as well. Students for Palestine was kind of planning on postponing the rally for the moment, just to kind of focus on other activist events, given the outbreak of a new war in the Middle East, which is a quite connected kind of issue. And I think that's an extremely pressing issue that now Australia is directly involved in, sending troops to the Middle East to back up the brutal American bombing of Iran and Lebanon and the whole region. So it was originally planned for when was it, like the 25th, I think. But that might be postponed just a little bit, just something to note.
Thank you for that. Do we have any more questions regarding this motion? Yep, Dylan.
I think it would be a shame to see it postponed. I think it's very important to remember that we've got, again here, and I've got another broader point, but yeah, just on that point, I think it would be good to see go ahead in some form because of that and the threats posed here at home as well. I think something we should probably think about is what we can do to make sure that Muslim students here at Curtin, but also Muslims in Perth and in our broader community feel safe. I'm conscious that we have the Musalla here on campus, so maybe that might be something we can go away with and perhaps talk around safety in that context and reassurances as well.
Thank you for that. Do we have any more questions or comments? Yeah, Sophia.
Dylan put up a really good point. After I found out about the planned attack on Perth Mosque, I have been feeling a little bit on edge. Not on campus, luckily, because I feel like we're a bit okay, like students are okay with each other, but especially like I haven't been off campus a lot, out of the house, because I have been like fearing for my safety a little bit. So I think if we did maybe look into just trying to see how we can protect like the musalla, which is like a physical space, but also like the kind of mental space about like how we treat other Muslim students, I think that would be okay. If we could focus on protecting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Very important point. Anyone have any more comments or questions? Yep, JL.
Yeah, mine is in connection with health and safety. Were you talking about people like walking and soft protest against Islamophobia? Did you want to consider the safety? Because if the mosques are being attacked and we go on the road wanting to demonstrate against it, how really safe are everyone against attack of unknown persons? And the second thing is because this thing is a bit concerning, is there any way for Guild to organize like counseling sessions for students such as Zobia who are now feeling unsafe, just for support? Thank you.
I would just like to know, I do think the counseling sessions are a good idea, but I also would like to add, I think hiding in response to these attacks is just kind of giving into the like rhetoric that they try to forward. So I think it's important to show like a presence and solidarity, show that there are people support for a lot of Muslim students who might feel alone. They might feel like I feel really like I have a community behind me as well. So I feel like that's why that might be really important. Does anyone have anything they want to add regarding this motion? All good. So I'll put the motion to a vote. Can I get all in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Yep, so that motion is carried. Next, I'll move on to item 9.2, solidarity with the people of Iran. It's the motion that the Representation Board affirms its solidarity with the people of Iran, including students, workers, and civil society seeking democracy, equality, and fundamental human rights, and condemns the repression of peaceful protests, violence against civilians, and restrictions on freedom of expression. Recognizes that the future of Iran must be determined by the Iranian people themselves, free from repression and free from military intervention, opposes military escalation in the region, including United States and Israeli strikes on Iran, and expresses concern about the broader civilian toll of conflict across the Middle East, condemns the Albanese Labour government's deployment of Australian military assets to the region, and its support for actions that breach international law, and calls on the Australian government to prioritize diplomacy, de-escalation, and humanitarian protections, including asylum pathways for Iranian nationals currently in Australia. Opposes proposal to restrict Iranian nationals from entering Australia on temporary visas due to conflict, noting that such measures unfairly target ordinary people seeking safety, education, or opportunity. And finally, calls on Curtin University to support students and staff affected by the conflict, including those studying in Australia and at Curtin's international campuses, such as Dubai, through appropriate academic flexibility, financial assistance, and well-being support. Moved by Max and seconded by Dylan. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I think a lot of the points of the motion is like it's in the bulk of it, right? The point that we're making it's in the wording, but this is something that the guild has historically stood with the right of self-determination by peoples, no matter which peoples they are. And the guild, it has a long time taken a stance of being against war. This conflict is a hostile military action by America and Israel against a sovereign nation, and we cannot. The guild has historically taken a stance against war, and I believe we should continue to do that here. Yeah, I do hope people will vote this one up.
Yeah, do we have any questions or anything to be raised about this motion? Yep, Sophia.
I appreciate that the sixth kind of segment is in there because I have seen a couple of my friends being stuck in the Middle East while they should be here like on campus, and they have like found it hard to take a leave of absence or even like come back or like try and get that academic flexibility. So putting in that phrase academic flexibility, I appreciate that being in there. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Yep, Ebony.
Just on what Sophia said just then, I'm aware that census date is tomorrow. Is there any way we can kind of make sure that if people do need, I guess, academic help, especially with enrollments and that sort of thing, is there something that we can do, have a conversation with, I guess, someone who's got control over that or something like that?
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that? Yep, Bill.
Yeah, we can. I mean, there are pathways to get fees. Kai and Andrew is probably like is very across it, but I would imagine there would be instances where, if census date has passed, and for situations outside of a student's control, that there are still pathways in order to get fees and things like that refunded. But everything is, it's the lawyer's answer, isn't it? It depends, doesn't it? But yeah, I don't know if Andrew has anything to add on.
Yeah,
I can elaborate on that. So Curtin University support for Iranian students has been a little bit lackluster up to this point. There has been an extension of fee payments, but that extension expired on the 10th of March, which was yesterday, or 2 days ago, sorry. As always, if a student can demonstrate ongoing exceptional circumstances after the census date, they would be eligible for a fee refund and remission. And we would certainly help with that if any students came to Student Assist. But I do think the university could do better with its fee offerings surrounding students from Iran. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents, but always happy to talk about processes for any individual students.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll go to Dylan.
Maybe on the back of that, and hopefully this gets up with that, sort of reinforcing this as guild policy. Maybe we meet tomorrow to sort of see what we can do, and then we can approach that. I had a meeting last week with the Vice Chancellor and Provost on this, so I think there is a potential that they can be a bit receptive in some areas. Although I know that fees is a tricky spot because they can generally be, to use my term, trying to figure out how to say hard asses in a diplomatic tone, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Did anyone? Oh yeah, Max.
Yeah, tacking onto the back of that as well. Do we know if the university has given any like support or leniency on extending times where students can switch from like in-person classes to online classes if they are stuck in the Middle East due to this conflict and aren't able to catch a flight back to their campus? Would they be able to switch to online classes even if they haven't done so before the census date?
Yeah, thank you. Anyone on the floor? Okay, we'll move to surveys.
Yeah, I think the motion is really good and important, especially like, I think the situation just, it gets increasingly like worse with like the attacks on like all of like the oil depots and like just all of these toxic fumes, like that are just engulfing like entire sections of like Iran, increasing like cancer rates, and all of that. And just like I think it's just like a pretty clear, like just like another example of like, Western imperialism going in and like murdering like thousands of innocent, people in the Middle East, including school children. So yeah, I think it's important for that. But I do think that the statement that was made on the Instagram should have overtly named the US as the aggressor in the situation. Because I think that is an important thing that the student union should be making an argument about, especially considering this rise in Islamophobia, and the media and the government basically just pushing this rhetoric over it being that it's not the case, that it's the US and Israel in this situation being the aggressor. So I think that is an important argument to make, especially as the government sends troops and weapons and just military assets to go and back up this murderous military intervention. So I think that, but I think it would also be good if the motion were to include something about Lebanon, especially because we've seen the pretty rapid escalations in the south of Lebanon and south of Beirut. Today, there was a double tap strike on basically a refugee, not refugee, but displaced Lebanese people living in tents and just it being bombed twice to kill the people who went to help the initial people who were murdered. And just almost 1 million people have been displaced at this point. And I think it's just pretty clear that the goal is to basically just flatten entire sections of Lebanon, and I think we should be overtly standing in solidarity with their struggle there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any comments regarding that? Anyone on the floor? Anyone up there? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think this is a really good motion. I'm glad that the Red Sport has taken this up. I want to raise that there is going to be a Friends of Palestine rally on the 29th of March. That's 3 Sundays from now, and that's to stop the Israel-US war on the Middle East. I think that the Guild should endorse this, should put up posters and encourage students to attend. I think especially students. I think it's important that we keep the protest and the pro-Palestine movement going. And students have been at the forefront of this movement. So yeah, I think the Guild needs to be involved with it and help promote it.
Thank you. And that was the protest. Sorry, what date was that?
Sunday, 29th of March, 2 p.m. Forest Place.
Thank you. Anyone have anything they'd like to add to this? Nope. Then I'll just move a motion that the Reps Board. Yep. Actually, we'll go to a vote. Sorry. Yep. That could be a separate motion for the Guild to endorse the protest and put the flyers around. Probably move that as a circular and then get back to you on that. Yeah, sure. Okay. Did anyone have? Yeah, sorry, we just moved JL.
My question is in connection with the students who are in hardship now because of what is happening in the Middle East. Is there any possibility for the university at least to send some monetary hardship allowance to them?
Yeah, did anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, there is the potential for many things. It's what they're willing to do and what we advocate for, but we can have that meeting tomorrow to sort of come together with what we want to push for the student side of things in advocacy to the university. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more comments or questions, we'll just move that to a vote. Oops, sorry guys. I'll put that to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next, we'll move on to 9.3, graduate visa. It's the motion that the Representation Board opposes the federal government's decision to double the temporary graduate subclass 485 visa application fee from $2,300 to $4,600 without consultation, with students or the representative bodies. Moved by Tossin and seconded by Dylan. Would you like to speak to your motion? Yeah, Tossin.
Yeah, thanks, Sadia. I just wanted to briefly speak about the recent decision to double the temporary graduate visa, the subclass 485, from 2,300 to 4,600, which is a lot. And we know, like, for international students like us, this visa is an important pathway after the graduation, like when you finish your graduation, to gain professional experiences in Australia. The sudden increase without like consultation has created financial pressure and uncertainty for many graduates. We also know like the international students contribute a lot to the Australian universities and the communities and obviously the economies. Because of these decisions that affect them should be fair and I think involve proper consultation.
Thank you, Tossin. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding the motion? Yeah, go to Ebony.
Just a quick question. So we've got in the motion it opposes, but is there other broader advocacy that's also happening at the moment as well?
Yes, we wrote to the Minister for Home Affairs. And we've also engaged, I know that JL signed a joint letter with the Council of Australian Postgraduate Associations. There's also work happening now within the NUS state branches to get letters signed in that area. I believe there's a petition as well going around that we've been supporting and are certainly happy to get people on board with. So there's a little bit of stuff happening around there. It's been disappointing. There's been very limited media coverage of this. I think there's only been one article in the Guardian. So yeah, I think it's a tricky one. And I think there needs to be a clear, concise, and unified message from all of our representative bodies, such as the NUS and CAPA, against this, and build a campaign around it, as opposed to just being reactionary. But we're certainly pushing for that to happen.
Thank you for that. Anyone have anything like to add? No one for it? You'll just move to observer.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty like representative of like the Labor Party's just, you know, constant disregard for the conditions of international students, but also like the attacks on migrants more widely, like on actual, you know, the rise of Islamophobia, you know, combined with this cost of living, housing crisis. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that like the Labor Party is pretty, you know, tied up with the Liberal Party and One Nation and like this, you know, blaming migrants for economic crises or, you know, just deflecting. And, you know, I think if you want to actually oppose, you know, this doubling of fees, you kind of have to push a lot harder. You have to actually, you know, do a like national campaign of protests, of actual fight back that's connected to the fight back against Islamophobia and against racism in Australia.
Thank you. I'll just move on. Anyone have any more questions or comments regarding this motion? No, I'll put that motion to vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Move on to 9.4, the Trade Union Engagement Strategy. Motion is that the Representation Board discusses and notes the draft Curtin Student Guild Trade Union Engagement Strategy, moved by Dylan, seconded by Morgan. I would also just like to note that if the meeting does go past 6:40, we'll be taking a 10-minute break for those observing Ramadan. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, sure. I think the important thing to note is that students are not just students; they are workers. We saw an important demonstration of that and the Guild's commitment to engage with trade unions on Wednesday with our unions fair. Relatively quick turnaround, got a few unions and Unions WA along there to talk with students about joining unions. And that's, I think, generally the crux of what this strategy is about, which is about putting unions in front of students, about encouraging students to join their unions and to get engaged with them and to know about their rights at work and in the workplace. So we want to basically embed it everything that we do here at the Guild, which is why it's not drafted in a way that is super prescriptive, but it should be a way of us looking at basically everything we do and figuring out, is there a way for us to be promoting those sort of aims here? An important part of that will be through supporting the work of unions, supporting the work of the NTEU, particularly on campus in the current context, and then broader, where there's campaigns around age of how adult age, adult wage, those kinds of campaigns. There's lots of different movements happening. We endorsed a motion at last Reps Board around a just transition for Collie. And then there's that point that Zobia raised earlier around working with unions on joint campaigns as well, like increasing paid placements and these kinds of things that work strong and work hand in hand. The important thing to note is that, again, this is a strategy. It's not a plan that's going to outline every single. It's a plan, not a list of every single thing we're going to do in every single month. If this is successful, it will be sort of represented in a cultural shift that does view unions as being important to the work that we do here, and that we are constantly in touch, that we're maintaining those relationships, and that a plan like this is essentially sort of invalid. It's not to say that that hasn't been the case. I think it has been, but I think it's important for us to sort of set that flag and set that point of where we want to be moving forward, and then we can see sort of what we can do to involve unions in things like O-Day, like in things on campus, like in Careers Week, like throughout the semester through workshops and people to know their rights and those kinds of things, and also to make sure that students are engaging with their unions in their workplaces, whether that be on campus or off campus as well. There's an important part in there around practicing what we preach, so making sure that the Guild is a good employer to students and to anyone that works for the Guild. One of the great examples of a policy that's in place is that we don't pay junior rates to people that work at Guild outlets or in the Guild in general. So these are strong things that we also need to look at, how we can embed and grow that within our own workforce as well, to make sure that things pop up, because, in spite of being a fantastic employer, there will always be instances where people, and there are problems and things that arise, and everyone needs to know their rights. I think that's the sort of basis of a nice, healthy workplace as well.
Thank you. Do you have any comments or questions regarding this motion? Yep, we're gonna.
I just wanted to say I think it's a really good strategy. I know I attended the Unions Fair yesterday, and it was really great to see that both the Unions WA store and the Professionals Australia store both had a lot of people sign up to what they were advertising. I know Professionals Australia particularly had a student membership, which was really great to see students signing up to. So I think this would be really great moving forward and building our relationships with unions. So yeah, good job on this.
Thank you. Any more? Nope. Move that. Oh, Max. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I want to highlight that is a lot of students that I spoke to on Wednesday at the Union Fair weren't aware of what their unions were doing, the unions of the fields that they're studying and going into. And for example, the finance sector students, which there was several of them that I spoke to, a lot of them were unaware of the campaigns that the union's currently going on, especially the fight against the implementation of AI in the workplace. And I think the campaigns that the unions are doing is something that we need to advertise as well, because I think that's something that will get a lot of students' interests and get them more engaged and to join their unions.
Yep. Thank you. No one on the floor. I'll move to observers.
I just think the thing that would make students join their unions is if the unions prove that they could kind of fight and get a better kind of deal for workers. I'm part of the ASU, and I'm about to get a several $100 pay cut per week because of Fair Work's proposed and probably going to go through like proposed wage cuts to the women-dominated sector, which will see tens of thousands of mainly women, like public and community sector workers, receive hundreds of dollars off their pay every single week. And my union's basically done nothing except for like a really small rally. So I think that like I'm all for unions. I think people should join their unions, but I think like we gotta be a bit real. Like the reason why most people in this country, including students, aren't part of their unions is because like the union movement is pretty dead. And I think a lot of the time, like the union officials just like basically just get in meetings with bosses and yeah, like, you know, I think like the NTU, I know, like got a lot more members when there was a strike that happened at Curtin a couple of years ago. Like I think they like doubled their membership or something crazy. And you know, one of our members, social alternative member in Queensland, was able to get like hundreds and hundreds of people to join the union in Brisbane when he led a strike there that was fighting for better pay increase. So I think like we shouldn't be kind of lowering the expectations of people. What they can get out of unionism isn't just like a campaign that has like a t-shirt or something. It's like strikes, it's fight back, and you can actually win wage increases. And I think that's the thing that means that people have historically joined their union and will in the future.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments or questions regarding this motion? No, I'll just move that to a vote. So all those in favor? All those against? That is carried. We'll move on to 9.5, which is adoption of new collectives. Oh, sorry. Okay, wrong agenda. I'll move on to the new 9.5, Respect at Uni, Combat Racism on Campus. The motion is that the Representation Board notes the release of the Australian Human Rights Commission's landmark Respect at Uni report, resulting from the Racism at Uni survey, which surveyed over 76,000 students and staff last year, making this the largest ever examination of racism in Australian higher education. Acknowledges the report's finding that the racism is not isolated, but is deeply embedded and systemic in the higher education sector, with 70% of respondents experiencing indirect racism, 15% of respondents experiencing direct racism, high rates of racism experienced by First Nation, Palestinian, Jewish. Oh, I would also just like to note that First Nations needs a T in that, sorry. Palestinian, Jewish, Middle Eastern, East Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian, and African backgrounds, with higher rates of racism experienced by those in these groups that are international students. Notes that the reports find current university complaint systems are fundamentally flawed and untrusted, with only 6% of students experiencing racism making a formal complaint, majority of whom reporting being dissatisfied with the process. Commends Curtin University for being cited in 2 case studies in the report as positive examples, being decolonizing the curriculum and cultural capability framework. Acknowledges that the Curtin University has stated that racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination in any form is unacceptable, and that the university's commitment to fighting discrimination is not symbolic. They endorse the finding and recommendation of the Respect at Uni report in full, calls on Curtin University to implement all 29 recommendations for universities made by the report at all Curtin campuses in collaboration with the Curtin Guild and Curtin students at all steps of the process. And finally, calls on the WA state government to implement all 18 recommendations for the government. Moved by Max, seconded by me. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah. So the statistics are quite horrifying. If you add those together, that is 85% of all respondents, 85% of 76,000 respondents citing that they've experienced racism while on campuses. And with 6% of those being able, like, reporting it, which means that the vast majority of racism that happens in our education sector goes unreported. And only 1 in 5 of people who made a report then reported being satisfied with the process in the survey, which was most often the ones who did not make a report or were not satisfied, citing confusion with the process, fear of the process not being anonymous, or there being consequences to reporting. And I'd just like to point out that while we acknowledge that Curtin University has stated that discrimination is not acceptable and their commitments to fighting discrimination is not symbolic, the university rarely ever says puts out any action that makes us believe these words. It has seemed quite symbolic from what I can see. So yeah, this is just a call for the university to implement real changes by consulting students, by improving the reporting process on campus, and just by educating our community and students and staff to even if it's the little things that people might not think of as being racism. Often these are things that people think, oh, it's too small, I'm not going to report it, and that it's something that not everyone experiences, and it is a form of discrimination, and it should be reported, and students and staff should know that they have a right to report this.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments or questions from the floor? No, move to observers. Oh, wait, sorry. Just 1 second. Yeah. Okay, we'll move to observers.
Yeah, I think yeah, I agree that like the last few points in this are just way too much like patting the university on the back essentially for like being anti-racist, which I just think is like totally wrong. Like in reality, Curtin University has actually, it's not just that their reporting structure isn't good enough. Like, I don't think that would solve racism either, like, if it was easier or better. Like, I just think that Curtin University has actually, like, in reality, stood in the way or actively stifled actions that are anti-racist, like, on this campus in general. Like, also, like, I think the biggest example and the most like salient in our minds at the moment is, like at a time where we have seen years of multiple wars in the Middle East deliberately targeting and blowing up, brown people, Muslim people across several different countries. The university like tried to ban the phrase "from the river to the sea," or like the university literally still hasn't even done the bare minimum of like even disclosing its horrific ties to weapons companies that have helped blow these people up in a very targeted way, like in a very political, like charged way right now. I think that's contributed to like the anti-Muslim sentiment that we have seen across this country that has like added to an air of like racism that the entire Australian media has added to. And what has the university done? They've actively stifled that. They've actively stopped it. They have opposed those actions. Like I think that's in reality like the way that the university, the heads of the university, see it, like the struggle against racism. They just like want to do entirely symbolic things so that they don't have to actually face up to the fact that they have actual ties to companies that want to wage imperialist wars. They have ties to mining companies that want to blow up Indigenous land, like, and steal it. Like, I just think that like the report itself like notes that, oh yeah, Palestinian people have seen increased racism because of this. Like, yeah, I just think that as a student union, we have to like violently oppose the university when, that's such an embedded part of this university, just like straight up racism.
Thank you. Do we have any? Yeah, I'll just give that.
Yeah, so this is my fault for not wording it properly, but a lot of this is in quotations, and that's because these are direct quotes from the university themselves. It's meant to point out, what they say and what they do is different, and it may not have been conveyed correctly. I can circulate an amendment for that, but that was my intention for it. The quotes in which point? I didn't number these, my bad. Those are citations from the report itself, where the report cited Curtin University like projects essentially. I was just pointing out that the university was being cited in the report, and not every university can say that. Which, as abhorrent as it is, Curtin University is one of the better ones in this country, which is nuts. But that's the reality of the country we live in, and that's the reality that we need to fight against.
Thank you. Do we have any? I'll just go to Sophia and then observers.
I will point out that out of the 8 kind of main points in this motion, only one of them commends the university, with direct quotations, as Max said, and the other one neutrally acknowledges that the uni has stated XYZ. And as Max said, what they state and what they do are 2 completely different things. And I do appreciate that the bottom 2 points call on both the university and the government to implement all of the recommendations done by the report.
Thank you. Anyone on the floor have any more? Yep, I'll just go to Dylan.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it would be really set a poor precedent for this union to be taking out the good work that is happening here. We're not acting like it's Harlene Hayne at the coalface decolonising the curriculum. These are hardworking and dedicated staff here at the university that have been commended by the Human Rights Commission for doing good work that contributes towards the aim. And by acknowledging that, I think that sends a clear message. That's not saying we're for the university, but that's like saying anyone who walks out of this university with a bachelor's degree or a graduate certificate is somehow as equally complicit as Harlene Hayne in some of these actions. There is good work happening here. It's been called out. It is nation leading, and it's important we get behind and support that because it is the exception to the norm, whereas it shouldn't be. It should be work that's happening here. So I respect the broader point, but I would certainly not support removing that from here and from this motion, because it is good work being done by ordinary working people at this university, right at the coalface, working to decolonise the curriculum. It would be ridiculous if we were to remove something from that and run completely counter to the values of this guild.
Yep, is that anyone else? Yeah, JL.
Look, Hadia, I just want to understand, do we have any standard of measure we want to measure cutting against and say, this is what we are hoping to see for us to believe there is no racism going on the campus? We can say things like, we want to see a bit of multi-racist employees, different, many races being employed more, or we want to see this in the class. Or can we have some things which we can measure against so that we can say they are performing or they are not performing? Or unless I didn't understand the motion, please answer. Thank you.
Yep, I would just refer you back to the Racism at Uni report because it has the outline for all that. Yeah, and I'll just, anyone, I'll move on to.
Well, I think a key indicator could be if they have ties to the companies that are blowing up people in the Middle East, and Woodside, and all the companies like Eleanor said that are taking Indigenous land. Because I think that that's kind of like the key indicator of whether they're anti-racist institution or not. I just think that what Max said is even more revealing, to be honest, than even the motion itself, because it does say, just like we condemn, we commend Curtin University for being cited in it and stuff. But what you said about Curtin University is better than the other universities, so we've got to recognise that. I just think that's a terrible starting point for a student union to have, that our university has got a course or 2 more than other universities, therefore we need to get on our knees and say thank you so much. This is a student union. How do we ever expect to get them to break ties to the weapons companies, to Lockheed Martin that produces the Hellfire missile that has just shredded Palestinian journalists over the past 2 years? That is what racism is. It's not of course there's subtle racism and stuff, but Curtin University isn't just
just like, just has some subtle racism here and there. It is in bed with and has research partnerships with the companies that have nothing fucking subtle about them, that are, blowing up like tens of thousands of people in the Middle East and taking Aboriginal land here and, like destroying all the Indigenous rock art in the Burrup Hub. Like, I don't know. I think that like it's just actually just pretty ridiculous to say that we should, like say thank you and we should be we have to recognize because they're better than other universities. It's like better on what? What are your standards? Because I just think like it's just yeah, if having ties to Lockheed Martin and doing this and this, but then having one course that says decolonization is like our standard, I think it's a pretty crap approach from a student union, to be honest. And if we want to talk about staff fighting for different courses and stuff, like I've spoken to plenty of staff here that feel like they have to self-censor and can't talk about Palestine at all in fear of being repressed. So I think that you can say that we like stand with staff who want to talk about oppression, that want to fight oppression, but to say explicitly that we that we commend Curtin University for being cited in 2 case studies in the report as positive examples, like it's just I think it just like is totally totally giving gloss to the university's actual role in racism, which is just perpetuating it and just like overseeing it basically.
Thank you. On note of that, I will, because we are closer to the end, I'll just go on a 2-minute break for people to break their fast for iftar at 6:44. So we'll come back in around 2 minutes for that. But I'm excited with the position. So I was gonna ask you. I'm just there's a missionary. Pretty fast. Oh, oh, cool. Okay, I wrote something up, but if you guys bring it, okay, cool. Where's oh, it just got added. But I'll speak to it. Like, okay, can I write it? Wait. It just got added. Yeah, like I wanted to be just say it. Yeah, it's like what? It just it say Palestine there? I'll read out something. I'm also I'll put like the decision. Yeah. Yeah. We're going back now. So, Dylan, shall we can have like the word Palestine from, but it doesn't say the word Palestine, it doesn't say Jews this year. It just says we're against it and that's been created. Whatever, but it's just like even the NUS thing. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think it'd be silly for us to say that we're a bit different from other problems, but says, and look at sort of it's one of the main $3,000.
But it's like the very end of the 18th like the family race down back and slogan. I don't think to be actually it's important that we have the slogan that the day is like a post that says like an Instagram post, a statement. Like I'm not trying to just like one up you. Like I just think that it would be good. Like if there was a statement that was like we're against the banning from the city. Just so it's like, you know what I mean? Like I just think that is what it fit that like I think it'd be good for us to say to us person because you can be someone anyways. Like it's good for other people to know what I mean? Like Hoover.
We're gonna go back and no, she's not. She said she had to go. But she said she's happy to send an email or speak at another time. We might just like run through that and might just give a little rundown, but maybe not go in detail. We're gonna start. If everyone could sit back down. Ebony. Sorry, yeah. No, I'm okay, thank you. Wait, Sylvia, we're starting back. I'm sorry. I'll just. Hello, everyone. I'll resume the meeting at 6:50. We'll go back to the motion 9.5. Do we have any more questions or comments regarding the motion? Yep, Morgan.
I would just like to round it out by saying next week, Max, Tarson, and Bonnie and I are all going to meet together to discuss what the Guild can do in response to the racism at uni survey and how we can better support students and staff.
Thank you. Any more on that? Nope, we'll just take that to a vote. All in favor? All against? That passes. Move on to 9.6, defending democratic rights and the right to protest. That the representation board, the motion is that the representation board condemns the arrest of student protesters outside the Queensland Parliament and expresses concern that the criminalization of political slogans represent an attack on democratic rights and freedom of expression. Opposes laws that criminalize political speech, expand police powers to refuse or restrict protests or otherwise undermine democratic rights, including Western Australia's proposed protest and hate speech laws and post and vote, quote unquote, post and boast legislation. Moved by Dylan, seconded by Tom. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a strong motion that sets the Guild's position clearly and really just reinforces what we already all know here, which is that criminalising any form of political speech is not going to make anyone in this country safer. It's not going to do anything other than lead to people being arrested for exercising their political rights and freedoms. What we've seen in Queensland is really appalling. We've seen the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" criminalised, and we've now seen 2 students arrested because of that. That's disgusting. In a country that's supposed to be one of the oldest great democracies in the world, it's really runs completely counter to anything that we've sort of been led to believe this country is supposed to stand for. But if anything, reveals a more accurate and real sense of what the state of political conversation in this country is and has been for a long period of time. On the home front, we're seeing laws be proposed here, post and boast legislation, which would have seen people who posted photos of the rallies that stopped the Row 8 being built be arrested, where we're seeing potentially future engagement with protest action, posting photographs of protest action that may be deemed illegal as itself being a crime. That's silencing political discussion and debate in this country, and also just the freedom to be able to communicate your ideas. And then there are now new laws being proposed that will basically allow the police commissioner the power to stop marches taking place in this state, which is absolutely appalling. Now, the point is that people may not agree with what's being protested about, right? There's plenty of protests that happen that I don't agree with. Only some of them are, led by different groups of people, and some of them are, I think can say really hateful things and need to be cracked down on if people say hateful things. But criminalising speech, criminalising the act of engaging and protesting against what is a genocide at the moment, protesting against war, these are things that need to be protected against. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's pretty clear what this is for. It's pretty clear that we, as a guild and as a student union, need to set that position clearly, but also to push for our representative bodies like the NUS, like Kappa, to take a good, strong stance on this. I think releasing a media statement is fantastic, but I do think that the NUS needs to be articulating its vision for what a campaign that is about defending freedom of speech on and off campus looks like moving forward. I don't think that's been articulated as of yet. So yeah, I think there's points there in the action points around what we will do to push our representative organisations to also take strong stances, not just in response to bad things happening, but to actively be defending democratic freedoms, not just on campus, but off campus as well.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak on that? Yeah, we got to talk.
Yeah, it's just what's happening in Queensland is really symptomatic of a broader decline of democratic rights around the world. It seems, the media makes this big frenzy about Palestine protesters and Muslims, etc., and enables these laws to be passed. But the real threat in this country, the real people causing trouble are the far right, and they don't seem to get nearly enough media attention. So yeah, not only are these laws completely anti-democratic, but they're being used to crack down on people who are just expressing their democratic rights, while the far right seems to get away with it all.
Thank you. Anyone else on the floor? Nope. I'll just move on to observers.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think this is obviously incredibly important. I agree with what you said about the post and boast laws as well. This is an incredibly concerning kind of attack on democratic freedoms and could stifle basically all protests in this state, which is pretty horrific to kind of think about it. And I think yeah, like we really do need like a free speech kind of movement against this stuff. On the banning of the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" in Queensland, and then the arrest kind of made at a recent protest. People said that. Yeah, this is obviously extremely fucked up and a massive, massive attack on civil liberties and free speech in this country. And I think basically every institution in this country who stands for Palestine and for human rights and opposes attacks on free speech should be very clear in the kind of in condemning this attack on free speech and be very clear that like this is an attack on the Palestine movement. This is an attack on the left. This is an attack on anti-government protesting and organizing. And I think we should be part of a free speech movement that can stands against that. So I think like concretely what we want to do is like it's all good and well and good to say in this room that we think it's a bad thing. What we need is a public statement. We need to kind of commit ourselves to backing free speech protests and free speech campaign in solidarity with people who've been arrested in Queensland and with pro-Palestine protesters in Queensland. And like I think it is actually incredibly important to kind of state specifically what this is about. Anyone can say that they're for free speech. The far right says they're for free speech. Donald Trump comes out all the time says, like I like free speech. So it doesn't matter whether you say you're for free speech or not. What matters is what do you say about this specific slogan being banned? Because clearly this is not just an attack on free speech, just in general. This is an attack on the Palestine movement. This is an attack on the biggest left-wing movement in decades, in 50 plus years in this country. And the reason why the government is banning it is because they understand the Palestine movement is kind of threatening, the stability of Australian imperialism and imperialist backing of Israel and the US. So this is not just any random slogan being banned. This is a pro-Palestine slogan being banned, and that's why it's being banned. And I think it's incredibly important that we actually state that specifically in any public statements that are released. And I think that needs to be released. If you're not releasing a public statement, if you're not backing a campaign, you're not really doing anything. There's no point in kind of just saying in this room that you oppose this thing.
Or no, I'll go to Emily.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
Oh, sorry. Oh, we're back.